I have the pleasure of introducing Kevin Bayuk. He was not listed in the agenda, but I assure you he is a planned presenter. He's supposed to be here, is what I'm saying. Kevin is a master urban permaculturist. And what that means is that he cultivates self-sustaining ecosystems. And as you would expect, he does this in the agricultural realm, but also he does this in the business realm. He cultivates self-sustaining businesses. He does this as an entrepreneur, as an educator, as a facilitator, as a speaker, as a leader. He's a member of the Lift Economy, one of my favorite podcast finds for 2017, and also, little plug. Also, he's a research fellow for my favorite book for 2017, which is Project Drawdown. Check it out if you get a chance to look at Project Drawdown. He lives in the Bay Area. He has a pet fish. Come on up, Kevin. And unfortunately for many of you thinking about this already, he does have a partner and a daughter. So welcome, Kevin.
Well, thank you, Sam. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm really grateful to you. There's so many things you could be doing in such a wonderful city on an evening like this, and to make the choice to be here, I want to just extend my gratitude. I think it's a courageous choice at these times to explore these ideas and opportunities. So my sincere gratitude to you all. And like Ryan prefaced earlier, I'm going to share a little bit about a project of Lift Economy called the Force for Good Fund. Something that we developed, Ryan and I actually it was a brainchild of ours, and one of our business partners, Jenny Casson, kind of co-conceived of this idea. It was an intersection of some of our observations. Lift Economy has been working with hundreds of different social enterprises, mostly small-scale enterprises, trying to reinvent the economy. As Ryan mentioned, organizations who are trying to provide needed goods and services, but do it in ways that are non-compromising in terms of their potential social and environmental beneficial impacts, reinventing the way in which we think about the economy. And these types of enterprises that we're enamored with and work with are chronically underfunded, under-resourced. And I was lamenting to Ryan one day and said, gosh, we should start, there's a gap. How do we finance these organizations so that they can invest in themselves for us to be able to work with them? We were doing a lot of pro bono work, and Ryan said, well, we should start a fund, but we should do it under the aegis in the community of the B Corp community. I think Ryan, writing the B Corp handbook, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so we started kind of exploring this thesis. We ran it by some advisors and friends, and they said, I think there's something here. When you look at the organizations we're working with, there's something that was emergent for us as an observation. The organizations that were most dedicated to transforming the entire nature of the economy were those that were kind of purpose-built to create and model a more diverse and inclusive economy. As you can see here, kind of statistically, these are the types of organizations that, as Ryan mentioned, are categorically excluded from the capital stack. And so we took it upon ourselves to say, let's create a pilot fund that will invest in these types of organizations to model this more diverse and inclusive economy and bring it under the B Corp community. We found a lot of founders, executives, leadership teams and investors in the B Corp movement and in B Lab as a nonprofit who are interested in supporting this thesis, this idea. So we created the Force for Good Fund. We took a little bit of time to, with the advice and help of some friends, some investors in the room, like Leslie, who supported us. We raised a pilot fund, and some of the characteristics of the fund are kind of represented here. That we started with the idea that this fund wouldn't be just for high net worth individuals. We actually do a crowdfunding initiative to showcase the possibility that there's this huge untapped resource of kind of, instead of private money, but the public money of unaccredited investors that wants to actually see this economy manifest. And so we crowdfunded the first tranche of the fund and then went to go raise the rest of it. The type of investments that we're going to make are mostly going to be loans, non-dilutive and non-extractive. Some of the aspects that are different, it's not just money to these entrepreneurs, but we've married it with married the capital with services so that we can actually work with and support the enterprises to grow, to achieve their outcomes. And we've set some targets for a return for our investors to prove that we can have these organizations that are prioritizing social and environmentally beneficial outcomes and returning to investors, even if it's a modest return. And we've raised a loss reserve to actually access some of the other resources. This is just a little representation of the LIFT team. Ryan and I are here in the Pacific Northwest the rest of this week. But we're a little bit geographically spread across the country. And so far, our portfolio is also spread across the country. So this is some of the investments that we've made from the Force for Good Fund, just to give you a flavor of it. And I'll dive into a couple of the stories so you understand kind of who we are working with. About 50% of the enterprises we've invested in so far are cooperatives, either multi-stakeholder cooperatives and or worker cooperatives. 2 of them are actually wholly owned by nonprofits, and the rest are incorporating governance, democratizing governance in their organization, or plan to democratize ownership in some way. 50% of them happen to be in California. More than 50% of our team is in California, but we do have investees in actually not on the board here in the South, in Atlanta. We have investees in South Dakota, Minnesota, 1 in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon, one of our favorite farms that is modeling a new way to transform the food system in a multi-stakeholder cooperative model. But let me dive into Oakland and talk about one of our first investees. Lynn Johnson, LGBT woman of color, has been running a profitable social enterprise that works with girls. At Project Drawdown, one of the surprising finds from our research think tank was that one of the most important and influential solutions to global warming or to climate change was actually empowering women and girls, for girls to be self-determining in their future, to own their future. And Lynn Johnson has created a program that works with young girls, after-school programs, summer camps, and other educational opportunities in media to empower women with social emotional learning and leadership learning. And she's been operating a profitable business, but in order to grow her business, she wanted to regionally replicate and franchise. Her ambition was to spread what she's doing in inner city Oakland to other areas of the country, and accessing finance was near impossible. And so the Force for Good Fund prioritized an investment in Spotlight Girls, which is the name of her enterprise. Another enterprise that we invested in is called 10 Power. It's based in the United States, but its work is all based in Haiti. As some of you may know, Haiti is the most impoverished location in the Western Hemisphere. There is, maybe surprising to some if you haven't been there, there is some economic development happening. There are small businesses that want to start. There's a desire and a hunger to, again, create a self-determined future. But small businesses right now pay anywhere between 30 cents and $3 per kilowatt hour for electricity that is chronically unreliable. And investing in diversified renewable energy, solar power in Haiti is, there's a scarcity of funding for that. 10 Power is essentially a solar finance company that's taking on the challenge of attracting investment into Haiti to provide small businesses with a reliable, diversified renewable grid to provide for economic development opportunity, partnering with Haitians as the workers, the installers, and the project developers. Something that we're really excited to be able to support. Another example that I'd love to highlight is here in the United States. The most impoverished place in the United States is actually in South Dakota. The Pine Ridge Reservation, it's the size of Connecticut. It's not a small region. The Oglala Lakota people, post the genocide of the American bison and the genocide of the indigenous First Nations people of this country, have been suffering from chronic economic isolation. average life expectancy of a male is something like 48 years. The average income for a family is $6,500 per year. The people in Pine Ridge, one effort they started was a enterprise called Native American Natural Foods. It's the largest tribal-owned food enterprise in the United States. It's a bison product. It's a product that's a consumer packaged good that's actually sold all over the country. The supply chain for that product, for bison, it's a very fascinating world, but there's an opportunity to repatriate the American bison, the buffalo, to tribal lands. And what we helped start, Lift Economy plus the Force for Good Fund, is a producer-owned cooperative in South Dakota called Tonka Resilient Agriculture. This is a cooperatively owned, a native-owned group of ranchers that are repatriating bison to the prairie, to their ancestral home where they ranged post-glaciation retreat for thousands of years. There was a time when there was millions of bison in that area, and now there's a return driven by the economic opportunity for bison meat. And we're very excited to be able to support this producer co-op to create economic connection for the community on the Pine Ridge Reservation. Here's just a sampling of some of our investors that are investing in our fund, and I think my time is up. One thing I just want to mention is that we are still building a loss reserve. We're not quite fully deployed in the fund, and we're going to make some investments. And it's not traditional to be able to invest in the type of enterprises that we're prioritizing with the type of fund that we have. So there are opportunities to participate in a philanthropic way.